Okay, I'm not going to spend a whole lot of time on this clip here. This was on the, I guess now old firmware from January 4th, which was the initial stock firmware. This is just the default settings, no changes to the basically the video or the settings at all here. This is basically straight out of the camera, including the audio. I did post a little bit of this on Facebook, and a lot of people complained about the fisheye or the distortion in the corners. Supposedly the newer firmware fixes that. You'll see a sample of the newer firmware and later in this video. This is also on the wide setting, not the narrow setting, so that could also contribute to that. I will be using the narrow setting in the new firmware clip coming up a little bit later in this video. And then also right after this clip I'm going to show you the same clip but slightly modified. I reduced the sharpness, manually reduced the distortion in Premiere, and did a little bit of color correction. So you guys can let me know what you think of that, and then I'll go ahead and show you the next clip after that with the newer firmware, so stay tuned for that. Okay, this is a shorter version of that same clip. I just slightly modified it, adjusted the distortion, sharpness, and did a little bit of color correction here. So let me know if you guys think this looks better. Okay, so this next flight is on the newest firmware, dated January 14th. This is the version number, and I am using the narrow setting instead of the wide setting now. So this firmware supposedly fixes the distortion issue in the corners, and I'm also at the same time using the narrow setting, so you'll get to see what it looks like untouched in those settings out of the camera. And then I'll show you a clip where I've modified it a little bit to make it look a little bit better. You guys let me know what you guys think of in terms of the image quality. Just a few thoughts on the image quality here. I think that the stock setting for the exposure value is a little bit high. Everything just looks really super bright. And I know it is a pretty bright day here, and the wide dynamic range is working pretty good. I mean, it's got good exposure on the ground and in the sky, but it just looks a little bit kind of too bright to me, and I think as per a lot of other Foxeer cameras, the colors are very oversaturated. So I might adjust this here in the next modified clip that you'll see. But overall, not too bad. Pretty good shadow detail, as you saw I was flying under the trees, and yeah, doesn't look like the overexposed areas don't look totally blown out like when you're looking into the sun. So I think overall the exposure is better than the Split Mini or the Turtle, but it's still, at least in this setting, it still looks a little bit overexposed to me. And I think the color balance is set to auto here, which is the default. I'm not sure if maybe changing it to sunny might help that or not, but I may do that for a future video. But yeah, this is just straight out of the camera. The only thing I adjusted was the field of view settings, changed it to narrow. Everything else is stock default settings from this firmware. And yeah, the other thing I wanted to note is that I think that still the image is too sharp. Hopefully in another future firmware update, we'll see the ability to adjust things like sharpness, brightness, contrast, saturation, those kind of things. I know that's on the firmware for the Turtle at least, but it isn't on this one yet. So I'm gonna have to wait for that when the new firmware comes out again for this, and then I'll update you guys with some newer videos when that comes out a little later.